Imagine living in a city where fear isn't just a feeling, it has a sound. A city where the chilling scrape of an axe against a door haunts your dreams. A place where letters arrive in the morning, taunting the living, mocking the authorities, and promising death to anyone unlucky enough to be home alone. They say, fear has a sound. For the residents of New Orleans, it was the swing of an axe in the dead of night, the terrified screams of families cut short, and the chilling letters that seem to know your every move. Tonight, we step into the streets of jazz, shadow, and murder. This is the story of the Axeman of New Orleans, a true horror that gripped a city over a century ago and still chills anyone who hears it today. It all began quietly. The streets of New Orleans were alive with music, the scent of Creole cooking drifting in the night air. Jazz bands played in parlors, and laughter echoed through narrow streets. But beneath this lively facade, a shadow moved silent, unseen, unstoppable. The first widely publicized attack was on Joseph Madeo, a grocer. One night, Joseph and his wife Rosa were home alone. Suddenly, a shadow entered their house. Before Joseph could react, the swing of an axe shattered the calm. Joseph fought for his life, but the blows were relentless. Rosa barely escaped, running into the street, her clothes torn, her hair wild with panic. Neighbors called the police. The newspapers published the grisly details. But this was only the beginning. Over the next few months, more families were attacked. Each incident followed a similar, horrifying pattern. The attacks always happened late at night, usually after midnight. The victims were often Italian immigrants, and the homes were broken into silently, with no forced entry in some cases. The bodies were always brutally attacked with an axe. The streets grew quieter, windows were barricaded. Families slept with knives beneath their pillows. Lights burned all night. Yet, the Axeman remained unseen, untouchable, and unstoppable. Then, the first letter arrived. Not in an envelope on a doorstep, but published right in the newspapers. Typed, precise, and absolutely chilling. It began, Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal, I am the Axeman. I am a demon from the blackest pit of hell, and I am coming to your home, in the dark, with my axe. Do not try to hide. Do not pray. If you value your life, play jazz music, the kind I love. The letter continued. On the night of March 19th, I am especially hungry. Any house that has a jazz band playing will be spared. Otherwise, I shall call. The city didn't question it. They followed the instructions. Houses hired jazz musicians. Families played music in living rooms, on porches, even on the streets. And when the night of March 19th came, the city danced with a mix of terror and relief. No one died that night, but the Axeman's presence lingered. The letters continued, teasing, threatening, always taunting the living, and always remaining invisible. The city learned to fear not only the night, but silenced itself. No one could trust a knock at the door. Every shadow could be the Axeman. Every stranger in the street could be watching. People stopped leaving their homes after dark. Streets that were once alive with music and laughter became empty, haunted by an echo of fear. The police struggled. There were no fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no clear motives. It was as if the Axeman moved like a ghost, stepping through walls, appearing wherever he wanted, and vanishing back into the darkness. Each letter just added to the terror. Some were playful, mocking the authorities. Others were threats so direct and personal that entire families barricaded themselves inside their homes, paralyzed by fear, and the murders continued. Sometimes, the victims survived. Sometimes, they didn't. The one constant. The terror. The Axeman didn't just kill, he controlled the city through fear, shaping their lives as if they were all just pieces in his twisted game. Every sound, a warning. The Axeman had no pattern beyond terror. His targets were often Italian immigrants, but it wasn't just about killing. It was about control. Residents reported sleepless nights, constant nightmares, and crippling paranoia. Families would gather in a single room, lock the doors, and play music from dusk until dawn. Jazz became more than just entertainment. It was salvation. It was a life or death ritual that determined whether you would survive the night. The authorities could do nothing. Each investigation ended in frustration. Stakeouts failed. Guards were stationed outside houses. Windows were watched, but the Axemen never left any evidence. The city had to learn to live with fear, and Taydid reluctantly, desperately, just hoping to survive another night. Then came another letter, another chilling directive. If anyone wishes to see me, play some jazz music on that night. Those houses that do not, beware, you may be found dead. This time, the city followed the order to the letter. Every house that could afford it hired musicians. Street corners were filled with performers. Music poured into every alley, every parlor, every shadowed corner of New Orleans. That night, the Axemen struck no one. The city survived by the sound of jazz, dancing with fear, defying death through rhythm and melody. But the reprieve was only temporary. The Axeman returned months later, his letters taunting the authorities, his murders continuing with the same signature cruelty. Authorities questioned everyone. Every Italian immigrant family was scrutinized. Countless suspects were interrogated, but no one had seen the killer. No one knew his identity. Some believed he was a former butcher, a man skilled with meat cleavers. Others whispered about a psychopath who thrived on fear. Some even claimed supernatural explanations, that he was a ghost or a demon feeding off the city's terror. The Axeman became a legend, even while he was still alive. And with each new attack, the city's panic just grew stronger. Many families survived close calls, and their stories only added to the horror. Neighbors woke to the sound of someone entering their home at night. Families barricaded themselves in, listening as footsteps approached their door, only to stop and then vanish. Some victims even claimed they could hear the killer breathing in the hallways, a sound that seemed to mock their fear. Every survivor carried that terror with them for the rest of their lives. The Axeman wasn't just killing but easy, was shaping minds, leaving behind scars that could never heal. The letters remained the most unnerving part of it all. Some were personal, sent to specific people, while others were published to strike fear across entire neighborhoods. One infamous letter read, "I am the Axeman. I am the demon of your nightmares. Play jazz. N'ai me pas. Ignore me, and your screams will echo in eternity." People did not ignore him. They played jazz every night. Every note, every chord became a lifeline, a fragile barrier between life and death. And yet, the murders continued sporadically. The city never felt safe again. Despite the screaming headlines, the dedicated detectives, and the citywide panic, the Axeman was never caught. His identity remains unknown to this day. His motives are still debated. Was it racial targeting, pure psychopathy, or just thrill-seeking? The letters still exist in historical archives, and they are just as chilling to read today. Historians speculate that he may have died quietly, moved away, or simply vanished into the legend he created. But the fear he instilled that lingered. Some say his spirit still roams New Orleans, lurking in the shadows, waiting for a night when the jazz falls silent, ready to return. The true horror of the Axeman isn't just in his killings. It's in the absolute control he had over an entire city. It's in the paranoia, the sleepless nights, the fear of opening a door, of hearing a sound, of the shadows that seem to move with intent. Imagine a killer who can dictate your survival with a song, a murderer who taunts you with letters, laughs at your efforts to hide, and then disappears like a phantom. The Axeman was real. He walked the streets of New Orleans. He wrote letters that chilled people to the bone, and he left a city forever changed. So, the next time you hear jazz music in the dead of night, remember, it may not just be a song. It could be a warning, because in New Orleans, the shadow of the Axeman still lingers. And if the music stops, you might already be too late. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more stories from the dark side of history.